morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful blue planet. We are joined today from Florida by Susie Ellis, the co-founder, chair, and CEO of the Global Wellness Summit, the chair and CEO of the Global Wellness Institute, and Kristiana Tarnuzzer, the director of development for the Global Wellness Institute. Ladies, thank you so very much for finding the time to join us today to talk about wellness for all.
Thank you, Jean-Guy. Thank you for having us, and congratulations on all the exciting things you have planned for your great wellness weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Over the week and also next week, we will continue speaking about wellness for all. So many people think that wellness is for all who can pay, the clients, the guests, the members, but we focus with World Wellness Weekend about wellness for all. Yes, the guests, but also the staff, the local community, and nature this year with a big partnership with the World Cleanup Day taking place in 225 countries and territories. So my first question would focus really on the guest. And every year, the Global Wellness Institute, among the many publications and research that they share with the world, publishes trends. Susie and Kristiana, would you like to each share one trend that really caught your attention this year, or that you see coming and that maybe could be in next year's trends, that you would like to talk about on how resorts, hotels, spa, fitness clubs are innovating in wellness for guests and members?
Sure, and Jean-Guy, I have in front of me, actually, because I'm in my office, this is the report. It's the Future of Wellness 2024 Trends. We always do this report in January. And so there are 10 trends in here. And when I look at them, I think one of them that I think is very exciting for clients, and I'm seeing it more and more, is the one this year that we call sports finds its footing in hospitality. We're seeing that, wellness and hospitality and sports have always been a little bit siloed, and that is changing because wellness now includes a lot of recovery, which was very much part of sports, and so it's coming together. So I think that the emphasis on sports is something that's very exciting for the wellness community. Now, my guess is a lot of your gatherings will be sports oriented. There might be sporting events. There are certainly lots of fan sports these days. And so I think that's a trend that I think I would challenge every wellness facility and every hospitality facility to hook into sports in some ways. If it's being a fan, if it's hosting fans, if it's creating events with the spa or your fitness center, I think the sports piece is really interesting.
Thank you. Kristiana, what is the one trend that caught your attention this year?
Longevity.
Aha.
Yeah. It was interesting because I actually think Susie and I were on a call recently with somebody, and longevity, is not necessarily a new word that's been around, but it's just how we are using longevity and really paying attention to it every single day. And somebody on a call recently mentioned, well, is it really a long life that we want to lead, or is it a healthy life that we want to lead? And they used the word health span, right, Susie, instead of lifespan, and that really caught my attention too. So I know even now I've been paying so much attention to the blue zones and watching that documentary and that series, and just really it's so top of mind for me in the way that I'm going throughout my day and the habits that I'm coming into, and really again just thinking it's not just about living long, but it's about living healthy.
Totally agreed. And in the conference that I have the chance of organizing every year in March in London, longevity, recovery were definitely two of the hottest buzzwords that people were talking about, not only for the re-engineering of their menu, but also with touchless treatments to increase the net operating income. but also about wellness communities and wellness real estate. And that's where I'd like to lead our second question, because after the guests, let's talk about teams or staff, hosts, associates, as some groups call them. A few months ago, you published, no, yes, a few months ago, you did publish the 2024 Wellness Policy Toolkit about wellness in tourism, not just wellness tourism, wellness for the visitors coming to beautiful exotic destinations, but wellness in tourism, wellness for the professionals. Do you have topics or do you have examples of companies, corporations that are really going above and beyond to promote wellness for their teams? Susie and Kristiana.
Well, the one example that comes to mind, because it's such a great example, is the Breakers, which is a property here in Florida. And they have such an outstanding wellness workplace program for their team. And it's been around for 12, 13 years, that to me, it's like the poster child of workplace wellness, because they really engage their team members and their families. It's not just the team members, it's the families. And they have done so much, and they've invested quite a bit of money. But the bottom line is that they have been tracking their turnover rate, for example, and you can compare that and benchmark it to other resorts, what the turnover is. And the reality is they have hardly any turnover, because people stay there. And in a resort setting, usually you've got lots and lots of turnover of team members. Not at the Breakers. And when you go to the Breakers, you can feel it, because everyone that's there, first of all, they're pretty happy, but also they've been there so long, so they can answer questions. So they have a love for the property. They know the history and so on. So I would say what they have done, and I think it's great to go to their website and see, because they make that very clear on their website, how much the team matters to the executives there. And it really shows in the bottom line, which makes it worthwhile for the company to continue to invest in workplace well-being.
Totally agreed. I remember attending the Global Wellness Summit at the Breakers a few years ago. And not only is the property absolutely stellar, but the team was really, really shining. And it's true, I concur that as a consultant, as an educator, I have never seen a meaningful guest experience without meaningful staff experience. If they believe what they do, if they feel taken care of, then something happens. And they are the experience in a beautiful setting. But the setting, the multi-million-dollar property, is not the experience. It is part of the experience, and the people are truly the conveyors, the alchemists of that. And I remember at that time, I did host a table about re-enchanting the lives of the staff, and that caught your attention. I remember at that time.
It did. I remember that, Jean-Guy, because we always do these hosted lunch tables, and I usually sit down last. So I just look and see, who has an empty seat and what the topic is. And you had the title Re-enchanting employees or team members, yes, or whatever. I thought, what a great word to use, re-enchanting. So I still remember that. It was really very insightful. And it was a good match for that property, because that's what I think. Denise Bober does the HR there and has been there for almost 30 years. And I would say it's almost an enchanting property and an enchanting program that she runs there. So
it is. Kristiana, any example you would like to mention about HR and team programs to really foster wellness on the workplace?
Yeah, I would say the Global Wellness Institute and the Global Wellness Summit. I think we practice what we preach, and obviously every day we are consuming the information that we put out there, right? We are always on top of the trends in the wellness space, and on speaking with the best in class brands and companies, the innovators, the trailblazers in the space. But as a team, we were recently on a retreat where we were able to go and really go deeper on our, sponsor for the Global Wellness Summit, but spend time together. And that is something that, Susie and Nancy have made a real commitment to do for the team and get us together, because we are located all over, once a year at least, to get together and spend time with each other and do exactly that, retreat. And at the retreat, some very consistent answers came out of what we love about working for this company, and it was the team, ourselves, but also we start every single one of our team meetings, which we host every single week, with a gratitude moment. And I think that that's just something very special. I don't know many companies that do that, so
Thank you. Early this year, you organized in New York a real estate conference, and Richard Gere was one of the speakers. I'd love to dig a little deeper into what's in it for communities. Sure, great properties, great resorts, great hotels, great teams, but what about the local community? How do they benefit from this wellness wave, wellness trends that we are seeing? Susie, Kristiana.
I think the very thing we were talking about with hospitality brands, hotels that are taking care of their teams, what's happened with the wellness real estate trend, and this is places where people live and own, homes or apartments, or in some cases, active aging and so on, where people live, but wellness is a big part of it. And one thing they've learned, because it's a fairly new arena, is that involving the community actually makes it more fun. It makes it just more of a win-win. It used to be in the very beginning that a lot of these communities were gated. You put a gate around it, and if you go into it, then you are in a wellness community. But if you're outside of the gate, then you're not. And what communities have learned is that, the gates are not so necessary. Invite the community to some of the classes, or if you have a restaurant that's healthy, invite the community to incorporate some of, the experiences. So more and more, we're seeing that the communities are recognizing the value of their surroundings. So I think that's a good trend, and we're seeing that more and more, and I think it's exciting. So watch that space, because the wellness real estate community bubble. We have the bubble chart that shows the number of the revenue per year in each of the 11 wellness sectors. It was the highest growth sector over the last many years, including during COVID. So there's a lot of appetite for people to live in places where there's wellness as the community focus. So there's just going to be more and more of it.
Absolutely. What was your takeaway, Kristiana, from that summit or from the research that you see? I'm not asking to unveil what Ophelia and Catherine and the other fellow researchers are going to announce, although if you want to share a little something, you can, because I'm French and it is my duty to try. But what is your takeaway with global, with wellness communities around the world?
Well, I would just add on to what Susie said, because, obviously I agree with it all, but one thing that also stood out to me at the Wellness in Real Estate Symposium that we hosted in May in New York City with Richard Gere, he actually said that when he was, forming his project in Mexico, he went to the community and asked, what would you like to have? What could make this a more impactful project for the community? And so that was really beneficial, and it just makes it that much more authentic and integrated into the space when he, it's not just putting something out there and thinking like we're doing it right and we're going to put it here. It was actually including the local community and getting their intake on what would be most beneficial and valuable for them. So I loved that, to see the collaboration between the project developer and the local community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially when nature is revived, when districts of cities are reclaimed, and bike paths and nature and parks are created for generations to come, and to have activities and moments to enjoy together. So there's a lot that's happening also. Let's talk about the Global Wellness Summit, because we are early September, and in just 8 weeks, November 4, 5, 6, and 7, the who's who of hospitality, wellness, spa, fitness, and so many other bubbles will be meeting at the Off Golf Course in St. Andrews, Scotland. There's a list of speakers that haven't been unveiled, others haven't. Maybe Susie, you'd like to tell us who we will be lucky to meet and hear and meet up close and personal, because I've seen Jeremy Johnson, the disruptor influencer with beautiful destinations, but I cannot wait to hear about other names. Susie?
Well, I just so happen to have this here in front of me.
Aha.
We call this the yearbook. We do this every year as we get closer to the summit, that showcases all the people that we will have. Although I shouldn't say all, because there's always a few that come in at the end. And and we have a few, surprises happening. Last year we had Simone Biles with us, the gymnast. And that was a big highlight. She talked about mental health. And now more and more people know her story, but she's certainly part of wellness and an advocate for getting help with mental health when you need it. And happily, she was very successful at the Olympics to show how much her work in the mental health area really helped her. So we always try to gather people to help communicate things of the moment. So I'll just highlight a few people. That Jeremy Johnson, as you said, he has wellness destinations. He is a major influencer. He really knows how to use social media. He's very much about wellness. And so he's going to be there talking about, the things, what he brings to the table. And he's going to speak, but he's also going to be interviewing the head of the WTTC. So the travel and tourism head will also be there. So clearly, that's important now to travel. Years ago, Jean-Guy, you go back with me a long time, the travel market was not all that keen on wellness. They thought, well, is there really a market there? Well, now, especially since COVID, almost all travel has some wellness aspect to it. So now people want to know more about the economics of it and how to do it better and so on. So he will be there. A few others, Simone Gibertoni, is that how you say it, Jean-Guy? From Clinique La Prairie. He's going to be there. And Clinique La Prairie is, a very high-end but very influential brand that has been around a long time, and they're opening in more places, and they're bridging this medical and wellness piece in a very interesting way. And like Kristiana said about longevity, that's a lot what they're doing. We also are going to have a very interesting person, David Osprey, who is the father of biohacking. And so he's going to be with us. And, biohacking, I'm seeing it on more and more agendas. And biohacking, we know, is a little controversial, but we don't shy away from controversy. We like to start conversations. So he's going to be there, and we'll be able to ask him some questions. And Wim Hof is going to be there, and he is a person that a lot of people know who's very much into, the Wim Hof method of, hot, cold, mostly cold. And then we have Louis Schwartzberg is going to be there, Martin Palmer, and also Jan Emanuel from Oxford, who is very much about the happiness report. And he's going to talk about what they know from their research on workers and happiness. So I think that's going to be very interesting. And, and this year our theme is a watershed moment for wellness. So we are focusing on water in a couple of ways. One is about all the water things happening at spas, and that is, the ice baths, the, contrast therapy, the thermal springs. Water is a big part of, spa and wellness conversations, but also our commitment and the importance of our industry being cognizant of what we do in terms of helping nature with water. So we have some speakers coming on that I think, they're outside of our industry, but they are going to tell our industry how they look at us and what they would suggest that we do. So anyway, we always have about 50 people on stage. Jonathan Leary from Remedy Place is going to be with us for the first time on stage. Neil Jacobs, Sue Harmsworth, a lot of people that others know. We have a 17-year-old that's going to be on stage. Futurists, always of interest to people. And so I would just say, people should come, those who would like to come. And then on our website, we'll also be sharing things from the summit for those who might not be able to make it.
Does it mean that Anna Burstam, like she has in the past, will be hosting some live sessions for those who cannot join, who book an online summit pass, but cannot be there physically? Is it something she's going to do again?
You know what? We don't do that for the summit. We do it for the wellness real estate, because we have found that the wellness real estate is one day. And to do that for one day is doable. And we have people interested in that. But for a 3-day event, it's a long time for someone to really, try to pay attention from virtual. But we will have a lot of things recorded, and then people will be able to access that afterwards.
Brilliant. Did you see the series on Netflix, Susie, about Simone Biles? There's 2 parts before the Olympics, and there are going to be 2 parts after the Olympics. And in one of the segments, she's speaking with you on the stage of the summit. So my question is, did she call you after the Olympics to say that maybe part of these medals, plural, that she gained is part of her being on the stage, being submerged, immersed with so many wellness people, that maybe a little bit of this rubbed off on her, and she felt light as a feather and strong as an oak on the beam? And is there any way we can measure that?
Well, that's interesting, because, I had no idea. Somebody called me and said, I saw you with Simone Biles on Netflix. And I thought, what are you talking about? This was like the day after this Netflix series came out. Yes. And so then I watched some of it, and it is such a short piece. I can't imagine anyone, other than maybe somebody who knew the summit. But we had an hour with Simone Biles. And so we were able to ask her questions, and Nancy Davis, who's, curates our events, did such a great job. She put snippets together of Simone doing, her tumbling and different gymnastics, but also with her and her family, and some interviews, and also where she was crying about, having to leave the Olympics in Japan and people being so critical. So we really were able to paint the picture for an hour about what happened. And I think it was really a very valuable piece. And just to give you an example, I saw an interview where someone said, oh yeah, Simone Biles, she's been doing mindfulness since Japan, and therefore she's doing really well. Well, that is not the story. If you sit and listen to, what her story really is, she had the twisties in Japan. It was a mental health issue, and she recognized it because she'd had it before, and she knew that she needed to step back. And then she had to work on herself, and it was years of work. It wasn't like, but it included therapy, which she goes to every Thursday and still does, and some medication, which not a lot of people know. But it's a good example of medicine and wellness coming together. And boy, did it make a difference for her. And then, of course, there was also the fun story about her getting married and all of that. But thank you for mentioning that you saw that. Pardon me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of Japan, I'm conscious of time. I know we have a handful of minutes, and I'd love to speak about the geography of wellness. Kristiana, you've released recently the geography of wellness for Japan. Last year it was Brazil, it was South Korea. So please tell us about the upcoming geography of wellness reports, and also some key figures that maybe professionals in hospitality, wellness tourism, or spa do not expect to find in those amazing reports.
Well, since the last time we spoke, we've had quite a few partners that I will actually say all of our partners that have originally been a Geography of Wellness country partner have renewed with us, which is amazing because I think it just really shows the value in the partnership in the program. So we were very excited about that. And that includes, the United States, Singapore, Brazil, as you mentioned, and Thailand. And then some new partners have been Korea, the UK will shortly be announced. So we're very excited about that. Canada is a new partner that came on board. We have Saudi Arabia that we will soon be releasing. And then, as you mentioned, Japan, Philippines is a new partner since we last spoke, and also excited to say that the Maldives has recently signed on, and you will see their country report released shortly. As for some numbers, I think, the wow number, there's always so many wows and oohs and woes and aha moments at the summit. The wow number is always the overall global wellness economy number. I mean, when it was released that it was 5.6 trillion in November in Miami. I mean, it's just incredible. I can't wait to see what the new numbers are going to be when they're released. But I think the most interesting aspect of the reports is to see, as Susie was mentioning, wellness in real estate is such a new sector, but it is a hot one. Same thing for wellness tourism, and to just see the differences and how they play out in all of the countries is really interesting. And it's very interesting to see who's utilizing these reports for their own purposes, and whether that's, again, investors, analysts, developers. It's very important for them to see the trajectory for these countries in these sectors. So it's really the content and how it plays out that I think is the most interesting.
Very true, because there's such a wealth of information. I will not go through all of the bubbles, but for each of these countries, and I urge everyone to go see the Global Wellness Institute website, to click on Geography of Wellness, or simply to type on their browser Geography of Wellness, because you really are the ones coining that terminology. And there will be, for every country, information about their regional ranking, their global world ranking, how well they perform in real estate, about wellness, physical activity, healthy eating, nutrition, mental wellness, workplace wellness, complementary, traditional complementary medicine, and so on. Of course, one of the biggest bubbles of all, personal care and beauty, wellness tourism, spas, and thermal and mineral springs. So there's lots and lots of information, but we are getting so close to the end of our session. There are so many more things that I would like to discuss, but I'll have to wait for 8 weeks, and then we'll have the conversation in person in Scotland, because there's still the possibility for people to come and join. World Wellness Weekend is really about encouraging and fostering people to find wellness in 5 pillars of wellness: sleep and creativity, nutrition and immunity, movement and vitality, mindfulness and serenity, and purpose and solidarity. And when they explore these 5 pillars on an everyday basis, or weekly, or if only for the weekend, then there can be a victory of the mind, and there can be a victory of the body. And when body and mind are together, those 2 V's become a W. And last year we received a Wealthy from Deborah Zeke, doing exactly this with her 2 hands, this victory. What will you, Susie and Kristiana, be doing on September 20, 21st, and 22nd The 20th will be celebrating in conjunction with World Cleanup Day in about 225 countries and territories. The 21st will be the International Day of Peace, still on the World Wellness Weekend, and the Sunday 22nd, when we end at sunset in Maui at the Grand Wailea, it will be the equinox. So last question, maybe, I hope not too personal. What will you be doing, Susie, for your own wellness, and you, Kristiana?
Well, I am leaving tomorrow for London because we have a press event in London promoting the summit. And then I'm going to St. Andrews because we're doing a site visit. So I'm coming back. So the weekend of September 20, 21, 22, I will be here in Miami. And because I have been traveling, I'm going no place. I'm going to stay here. And what I do, and this is what I usually do on weekends, but I'm going to do it every day. Every one of these days is I'm going to go bike riding on the beach. That is my exercise that I love. There's, here in Miami, we have a very, very, very long boardwalk that goes for miles and miles and miles. And you can bicycle and you see the ocean the whole time. It's just, to me, it is just restorative. So I'm going to do that. I would say every one of the mornings. And then I will make sure that I go to sleep every night very early because that is very restorative for me. So personally, my wellness routine will be the bike riding and concentrating on sleep.
Fantastic. What about you, Kristiana, when you're not organizing your daughter's birthday?
Well, it does include my family. I actually have in the calendar that my family and I are going to be walking the High Line in New York City on that Saturday. So I always find the best way to incorporate wellness is to be with nature. And so, I love the High Line because it's a way to kind of be in the city, but you're kind of above the city. And there's a lot, to it's a lovely experience. I don't know if you've done it. So, and my kids really enjoy New York City, but I think it'll be a nice day. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. But
excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for carving the time to join us to talk about wellness for all. Maybe we can finish with a group Wellfie. Yes, joining those two V's together. Thank you so very much. It has been a pleasure to reconnect with you today and looking forward to see you in just 2 months in St. Andrews. Susie, Kristiana, thank you so very much.